Okay, it looks like United are going to be without Antony for an unspecified period of time. Now, United paid a hell of a lot of money to have Antony at the club, and despite, I think we'd all agree, underwhelming performance since we signed him, certainly for the money that we signed him for, missing him is going to be tactically problematic for United. Antony's played close to 50 games for the club, as Erik Ten Hag continues to select him in the starting lineup. And the primary reason I believe the manager continues to select him is that I don't think he has any other world-class options that can go in ahead of him. And there's a bit of an honesty about the way Antony plays in terms of that he can be defensively relied upon. And I think we've seen this previously with players. McTominay, Donny van de Beek, people question why McTominay was always favoured over Donny van de Beek. Well, defensively, he's going to give you a lot more than what Donny van de Beek's going to give you deployed in a similar sort of role. And I feel that's why Antony's in there ahead of perhaps a Jadon Sancho as first choice, because I think he definitely delivers you something defensively. He works up and down a touchline, even if his productivity at the other end definitely leaves a lot to be desired. Marcus has often played as a little bit of cover over the years, but the difference between Marcus on the left and Marcus on the right, it might as well be a different player. He really cannot play off the right-hand side. And I don't really like accommodating players in positions that they're not familiar with, even though I'm probably going to discuss Mason Mount playing off that side. I think that's because he's got the skill set to be able to do that. Now, on paper, you've got Antony, Amad Diallo and Pellistri as recognised sort of right wingers in the squad. But Diallo's out injured and currently undergoing what appears to be a long rehab, so he's going to miss the first half of the season, and there's some talk that he might be out until February or March, which leaves us with Pellistri as the sort of go-to option that's going to be featured. Now, is Pellistri good enough? Well, we're seeing promising glimpses of his quality from the bench, and he's getting regular starts for Uruguay. He is a natural width provider. He does like to hold his width. He is direct, another honest sort of player, an out and out byline hitter. He seems to want to always get to the byline. Gives a little bit of a different dynamic to any other winger that's in the squad because of that. Now, he's only just started once for United since joining from Penarol all the way back in 2020. Again, I've said it so many times, usually in frustration at a youngster not getting an opportunity, but no youngster really gets given an opportunity. They have to take an opportunity. Someone has to be injured, someone has to be out of form, suspended, or in this case, taken out of the team for other reasons. With Antony absent and huge question marks about what's going on with Jadon Sancho, this could be the opportunity that Pellistri gets handed to him on a plate. Now, we don't know whether Pellistri has got Premier League star in his future or if he's got Championship star in his future. But I've got a feeling he's going to be the one that's given the opportunity to try and show us what he can or can't do. Another option is Garnacho. Now, for me this season, Garnacho, when he started, has been poor. And he's actually only played on the right wing for just 19 minutes in his entire Manchester United career. His play style and apparently his preference is better suited to the left. But I think he can do a job on the right-hand side, partially because he's dynamic and exciting. His directness could at least translate down the right-hand side. You would probably look at him getting to the byline rather than coming inside. But I think if he played on the right, he would probably quite predictable. And sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing. I would argue that when he played at right wing, Antonio Valencia was extremely predictable, but good luck trying to stop it. And that's the last sort of out-and-out, go-past-them starter winger that I can really remember at United. Someone that was always looking to get to the line to bang a crossing, Antonio Valencia, a good decade ago, really. But he's the one. He's the one that I think if you looked at both Pellistri's play style on the right or Garnacho, if you moved him over to the right, I think that's the sort of output that you could potentially get from that. Now, There's a couple more options I think that are worth looking at. One is Bruno or Mount. Now, Bruno's been featured there a few times, and this is more of a wide playmaker than an out-and-out winger. And I actually think the most likely outcome of what we're going to see from Ten Hag is actually Bruno moved over to the right-hand side, especially now he's got reinforcements in midfield to be able to do that. Mount can come play centrally. You've got Eriksen who can go in the mixer as well. And I would expect Amrabat and Casemiro to be starting, particularly in the Brighton game. So moving Bruno over to the right-hand side makes a hell of a lot of sense. Last season, we saw him play some games as a bit of a right-sided forward, right-sided playmaker. And I think, like we said, with the additions that we've now got in midfield, having maybe two holding midfielders plus a Christian Eriksen maybe playing as the 10, I think gives United a real element of control. There's reports saying that Mason Mount is eyeing an injury comeback against Brighton. If not Brighton, it'll be Bayern. He has impressed previously out wide for Chelsea, and I think there's another option for him to do so there. Those wide kind of half spaces, undoubtedly where he does his best work. His play style, his profile seems like a real seamless transition, and maybe even more seamless transition for playing him there than it would perhaps for Bruno Fernandes there, where you get maybe a little bit more industry out of Bruno, certainly a little bit more tracking back. But there's only one caveat. Mount has only played on the right-hand side 8 times in his entire career. He's played more than twice that amount off the left-hand side when he's played in that sort of wide playmaker area. But the key here is that he has actually played on the right in that role for Chelsea. Ten Hag might view Mount as more suited to coming out wide as an ideal solution, while Antony is out of contention, allowing Fernandes to continue dictating the game from central, where he has been effective, and maybe giving Mount an opportunity to fill in a role that maybe is a little bit more simpler for him than asking him to do the bit more complex 360 game that playing in the centre would require from him. And finally, we have what should be the tap-in option. But the player has made this not a tap-in option, and that's Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho started his career as a left winger at Manchester City, joined Dortmund, played on the left, and then moved over to the right where he was incredibly effective. Since he's come back to United, he's played in the centre, he's played on the left, and he's played on the right, and has yet to really establish consistent run of games and a consistent run of form. The worst thing for Jadon Sancho is that, I mean, I've seen so many conflicting reports. The latest thing that has happened in the Jadon Sancho saga is he has deleted his statement on Twitter. Is that a sign of consolation or an agreement over something? Who knows? But there's mixed reports coming out saying he's getting sold in January. There's mixed reports saying that they've sorted it. Some reports saying that they haven't sorted it. So the bottom line is we don't know. I guess if he starts against Brighton on the right at the weekend, maybe we do know. But if he's not in the squad again, then we definitely know. I would argue his better performances have come on the right. And he offers a similar sort of ball retention quality and balance on the right-hand side as you get from Antony. I just don't think he matches the work rate of Antony on that right-hand side. Now, if he doesn't mend his relationship with the manager and the coaching staff, he's not going to get game time. But there is such an opportunity for him here that if he puts this behind him, he gets his head down, he works hard in training, he becomes undeniable, and then he goes and puts in even 7.5, 8 out of 10 performances on the right-hand side, he will play every single week. So United have got options here. And actually we've got a variety in those options. Do you want to be direct? Let's try Garnacho or Pellistri. Would you maybe want to hold the ball a little bit more, bring in a bit more quality in terms of some of the players that we can play? Okay, Bruno or Mount. You like to try and give an opportunity for someone to make a claim at that place being theirs long term? Jadon Sancho. So even though that this squad feels like it's getting stretched beyond belief, there's literally 4 players there, 5 players there that could come in and fill in that role without too much of a negative impact on the team elsewhere. Let me know in the comments. Do you see any one of those getting the opportunity ahead of the others? Do you think it may be, we might try this at Brighton, and it might be this at Bayern, and it might be this at Brentford? Let me know how you guys see this going, and which player you think is going to come out and be Erik Ten Hag's first choice right-sided player as we look to deal with Antony's situation. See you in the next one. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.